All right, everyone, welcome back for another episode of Dine and Dish. And boy, these weeks are moving. I can't even believe we're into June and summer. And now we're going to talk healthy eating. And what better way than to bring on somebody that knows good salads, a man after my own heart. And I'm so excited to jump into the show today because we finally have a restaurateur on that we're going to talk shop and we're going to talk food and buying and salads and expansion and all the restaurant stuff. So with further ado, Joey, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to it as well.
Very cool. So before we get started, I have to tell you, when I heard where you were from, we're actually getting ready to expand into Jersey. We're based out of Annapolis right now, and we're actually moving our headquarters. Really moving, like our offices, our residence, everything to Jersey. And I was actually talking to our real estate broker, and he's like, "Oh, I know Joey." I'm like, "He's going to be on the show today." So that was kind of cool. So we're actually doing our Vivi's concept, which I'll tell you a little bit about, and some full service. But before we do that, we got to introduce you and we got to tell the listeners who you are, what you do, your concept. So you have the mic. Take it away.
Well, I'm excited for you to come out this way, but it's funny, vice versa. I'm coming to you guys. We sold Annapolis territory, and we're actually actively looking at real estate there.
Wow.
So we're going to be there, and also in Brandywine. We have a two pack out there as well that we just secured a lease. So we're excited about our expansion into Maryland. But it's funny, we're like flip flopping. We're
So you're opening in Annapolis?
Yeah, we sold the territory. It was almost we almost landed on a spot in Pasadena, but Annapolis is the actual territory that they have the hunting license for. So
Oh, that's exciting.
yeah,
Well,
so
very cool. So you're coming to me. I'm coming to
that's
you.
it. Yeah, so salad house. I'll be honest with you. I always joke that it's a business that started to make my wife happy, which is always a good thing. Happy wife, happy
Yeah.
life. She'd always complain about there was no chopped salads, healthier eating in the suburbs, and I came from the food industry. My parents are immigrants from Italy. They use food as the vessel to achieve the American dream. I'm super proud of them, and I always love to, pay my respects to their journey and the sacrifice that they made coming to this country, not knowing the language, and being able to to achieve the American dream through food. And I'm proud to like carry the torch, carry it on,
Yeah.
with Salad House. So I started
That's
in 2000,
so cool.
yeah, in 2011.
All right, so we got to talk. We got to talk Italy.
All right, let's talk.
So
I smell the barrel.
my husband's from Italy. He's from a small town called Monte di Procida, which is outside Naples, which is right across from Ischia. And so I heard your background that your family came over from Italy, didn't speak any English. I'm like, boy, I have the same side on my husband's side. He came over to Connecticut when he was 15, didn't speak any English at all, learned the language here, got into the restaurant business, started opening, our Italian concept. So I thought, when I heard that, I'm like, you got to tell us a little bit about where you're from in Italy, the whole story of how your family came over. And just, I think it's super cool.
It's crazy. We're like very close to there because my family's from Maddaloni, which is in Caserta, which is very close to
Yeah.
Monte di Broche. It's like actually very, very close, probably like 25 minutes away from there. Yeah, I mean, it's just they were this little village, village in the Campania area region of Italy, and they just wanted to come over here to, like I said, achieve the American dream. I'm sure similar to your
Yeah.
husband, and there's something to be said about that because, they have these grand visions of it being the streets paved in gold, and then I mean, Connecticut's a little nicer than Newark, where my parents ended up. So when they arrived in Newark, they're like, wait a minute, this is not streets are not paved in gold. So, so respect to your husband. I mean, that's incredible that, that he did that. And also, using food as a vessel because food is, the language of love. And that's what we, Italian culture, bringing that over here, how important it is to our culture and bringing people together and just, showing love with food. And that's, there's something to be said about this business and the
Yeah.
Italian heritage, bringing it over from the old country.
Yeah. So they came over and started as a deli though, right? So you grew up in like a family deli? I mean, what concept did they bring over? Because I mean, I have to ask because I feel like everywhere we go, if they're from Monte de Procida, Naples, or anything around, they own every mom and pop pizza shop around. So it's like we go places and my husband's like, "Oh, I know you. I grew up with him." Or it was either I think it's either pizza and Italian or bagels.
So
Something with
funny.
bread.
It's actually, I'll tell you what, at first, when they came here, they didn't, have any plans. They really didn't know how they were gonna what they were gonna do. So there was not
Mhm.
even there was no roadmap. They came here with, just they just felt as though there was an opportunity, to come to a new country and, and kinda start from scratch, and they actually worked in a factory, that was awful. Definitely had them second guessing them being here, and it was, like, really, like, 7 days a week, no windows, and they were in this small little apartment, and it was just not looking good. I mean, they were only 18 years old, like, newlyweds, like, thinking, like, "What are we doing here?" But then my father actually took a job, part-time job working for this gentleman that had a pizzeria in Newark and, a paisan, one of the people that you were speaking of. Uh, and he learned how to make pizza, in 1957, and my dad was like at the end of the weekend, like, the guy would just throw him, like, 25 dollars just like, "Oh, Tony, thanks for helping me out." Now my dad, like, worked a full week, busting his hump, for and making 20 to $25, back in 90 in '57, like, for the entire week, and this guy was just tossing it to him. It just so happened the guy was kind of at the end of his, he was kinda at the end of his career, and he kinda wanted to move on, and my father he struck a deal with my dad where my dad took over the building, like, the apartment above it and the restaurant, and, my dad and my mother, they started Tony's Pizzeria down neck Newark, and, he was such a hustler, and this is just something that's so true, and it just, it kinda embodies who he is. They ran a telephone line up to their apartment. They left the ovens on 24 hours a day, and they ran a telephone wire up to the apartment, and, if there was anybody that called, like, drunk at, like, 1 o'clock in the morning, they would ring upstairs, he'd wake up, go
They'd
downstairs,
run downstairs,
make the
make a
pizza,
pizza.
and then deliver it. That's how much he wanted to just, to prove that, to his parents and the
Yeah.
hustler mindset that he had. From there, they moved on to, opening up like an Italian restaurant, with my uncle, and they were in the restaurant space for a little bit, but my father didn't really love the whole, like, staying open till 11 o'clock at night, waiting for people to turn tables and people sitting there having cigarettes and just waiting, taking their sweet ass time when you're trying to close up the restaurant, having, and I was born later than my brother and sister, so, like, I was, like, 3, 4 years old, and it was the late '70s. So my dad was like, "I'm done with this," and he ended up opening up the deli that you had spoken of, that I was kind of
Mhm.
into in 1981, and it was like fast casual before fast casual was a thing. He wanted, in his voice, he's like, "I want the people to come and get the food and get out." And so yeah, he basically started, Cioffi's Deli, which is still there 45 years later. And that's kind of where I was indoctrinated into the business and really learned, every component of the business. From I started working at like 11, 12 years old, and I got such an education. I didn't like it when I was a kid. I definitely was, envious and very, I was was very angry at the fact that I was working, like, it's like when summers were coming along, like right around now, I still have this innate, like, anxiety because, like, every year going into the summer, it's like kids were excited for school to end, and I was always miserable because I'm like, "Here we are, I gotta go to work every
Yeah,
day."
you're gonna work all summer.
Yeah, yeah, but I learned so much, man, from every component. Michelle, I learned, like, from the different personalities within, your team members and on the team, to the customer service, front facing, the top quality, just the hospitality, like all, and it really was, it really molded me, not only as a restaurateur, but also as a person, because it made you, talk to anybody, all walks of life, from a construction worker to a physician to, you know what I mean? So I was really, I believe it helped make me who I am today.
Well, you stayed in the business,
Not
so
really.
I guess that's a good thing.
I tried escaping. I tried escaping. After college, I worked on Wall Street. I graduated with a finance degree, and I was on Wall Street for a minute. Got my Series 7. I thought that was, it was like the late '90s, and everyone was making money on Wall Street. But then, 9/11, actually, I was supposed to, take a job that day. I was supposed to go, to the World Financial Center, So at that moment, I didn't like the industry. It wasn't for me. I didn't like, I didn't like the fact that you're trading there was nothing really there, like, was and I didn't feel comfortable, taking other people's money and, like, not really having control over, what's gonna happen, and then when 9/11 happened too, it's just kind of like eye-opening. I'm like, "You know what? Let me just pivot back into my family business," and that's where I worked alongside my brother who's 14 years older than me, another very important, mentor person that was, so him and I basically took over the Italian deli while my father, moved on. So I
Got you.
I
So
tried
do you still
escaping.
all right, I was gonna say, so do you still own the deli as well?
We do, yes, yeah.
Wow, okay, so the family deli's still in the family,
Still there, yeah.
still operating.
Still there,
That's
45 years.
exciting.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. So talk to me about the whole birth of Salad House. I mean, I love that you did it for your wife because I have to tell you, we just did our new concept, Vivi's Chicken and Mac, and it's named after our daughter Vivi, who's 7. And when I called it the chicken tour. Like he went all over the country tasting different while he was working on the recipes. And I think he ate more chicken than anybody could eat. But I said to him, you better have grilled chicken and you better have salads because you can't just go and have hot chicken and mac and cheese and fried chicken because, the other side, the wives want something healthy too, right? You want the green and you want the grill. So, talk to me about the whole birth of this concept, how, you identified the gap in the market and where it all came from and what inspired you to do, besides your wife, um, Salad House.
Yeah, so, like, I like to think I'm an observationist. I observe, I really see, I kind of see patterns, and I was seeing how people were, in the advent of also, like, cell phones in our pockets, taking pictures, being in more pictures now, than I ever was in the first, the last, 10, 15 years. I was in more pictures than I was in 25 years before. So running away from the mirror, you can't really run away from the mirror anymore. So you're really paying attention to your to what you look like. But also, a little bit
Well,
more of
now
an
you're on a video podcast too. So now we get to see you on a video podcast.
and also people were, being a little bit more health conscious, understanding that, like, the McDonald's of the world, eating that multiple times, is not good for you. And it's just, just seeing how people were going, gravitating a little bit more towards salads and healthier eating at Choppy's Deli. And then I saw in New York City how, like, these chop salad spots were popping up, and and there wasn't really an option in the suburbs. So when my wife was talking about it, I really, I listened, even though she says I don't listen. I was listening to her, and I was at a traffic light. I saw a vacant spot in Millburn, New Jersey. It was 2010. And I decided, I went home really, pen to paper, and I drew up a business plan. But I had my family in mind. You mentioning your daughter, like my kids in mind, and I said I wanted like a one stop shopping, someplace that, like, you could eat healthy, but at the same time you can have chicken fingers for the kids, or or like we had flatbread pizza or something like that. So, like, it was like one place that, like, the wife could, or somebody that wants that is more health oriented to eat, create your own salad. Somebody like me who would eat only healthy when they felt like they ate like crap on the weekends, could maybe have a crispy shrimp sandwich or a chopped salad, and then the kids could, have a kids menu, but with with the intention of them learning to eat healthier, and that's kind of,
Yeah.
that was kind of the progression of my family and kind of, the vision behind it all.
Yeah. So you opened your one corporate store around where you lived. What made you even think about franchising? I mean, I know our franchising story was crazy because we own Squisito Pizza and Pasta as well, and we have 9 of those. And when we jumped into franchising, we had, I mean, significant more. But of course, when you franchise, you have to sell them off to the operating partner, or buy them back, and blah blah blah. So we never thought we would ever franchise. We wanted to stay corporate for a long time, and then we kind of got thrown into it. But what made you go from the corporate side and opening corporate stores to then moving into franchise and scaling at a different way, different manner?
So, the second location, like, I started this on my own, and the second location, I took out a loan. And, I was like, I really wanted to prove it out, just to make sure that it worked, not just in, like, my backyard. So we went out, like, about 25, 30 minutes away in Morristown, New Jersey, which is like a metro type, like, like kind of like a mixed, like, young professionals, but also, offices, office buildings. And, And, I was on a side street, I'll be honest with you, I was told I was gonna fail by a fellow paisan, like, 6 months like, 'cause I went down the side street as opposed to getting prime real estate, I was afraid of the big number, like, the rent was like 12 or $15,000, if I recall correctly, and this side street was like almost half the rent, but, um, you know, uh, I was told by this guy at an Italian deli that I was open up across the street as I'm in mid-construction, ready to go, I introduce myself, I'm like, "Hey, paisa," trying thinking I'm, like, gonna talk to the guy, and the guy goes, "Nobody goes down the street." He goes, "You're gonna last 6 months." I'm like, "Oh my god." I'm like,
Lovely.
$500,000 bill. I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, this is but at the same time, I was very confident in, that there was a void, in the market in that area that I really felt confident and, now we're there 11 years, and that gentleman actually went out of business a couple of years later.
I was gonna say, did you go in? It's like that Pretty Woman moment where she walks in with the bag and
Yeah,
she
yeah.
goes, "Big mistake, big
Yeah,
mistake."
yeah. Well, I definitely didn't rub the nose in it, but
Not to throw it in
I
his
know.
face or
I
anything,
know, I
but
know. Yeah, so at that point, I realized it was something special. I knew that we had something going here. Um, but at the same time, I knew I couldn't do it alone. I had myself and Jared, one of my now partners, but like he was my general manager in Millburn. He moved on to open up Marsown with me, and I knew just the two of us really couldn't really do it. So I started moving along with the franchise. I wanted to do the franchising because franchising that was the route that I wanted to go into. Is because truth be told, I was, strapped and like, getting another loan and risking another. And I thought like to expand a little quicker, I think maybe the franchising model will work better, especially, the systematic approach that Salad Out was. I didn't want it to be a specialty worker driven place because I ran away from that. With Cioffi's, having a specialty pizza maker, a chef, a guy that knows how to cut prosciutto the right way. So,
oh, we know. Believe me, you're held prisoner to if they make the like what pizza man's working today because he makes it one way, this guy makes it another. Like it needs to be the same,
yeah.
consistent. Oh, we know.
Which is amazing. It's
Been there.
unbelievable, the pizza like, how like, we could tell, even our pizzeria now, like, which pizza maker makes it's unbelievable. Same ingredients, it's wild. So,
Yes.
so at my deli, we had, this group of gentlemen at a hedge fund. My partner, Cherry Ike, he was a part of that group. They would come to the deli a couple days a week. One day, Jerry, had an injury, and he said to me, he said, "I can't eat toffees every day. What's your salad concept?" I said, "Oh, it's, Salad House in Millburn." So he started going. Next thing you know, he calls me up. He's like, "Dude, I'm in love with this place. I think it's amazing because I'm making a pivot from the finance world. I'd love to, align with you, help grow this thing." And at that moment, I aligned myself with somebody that had the wherewithal on the finance side and kind of would be able to guide me in that direction because I was more of a creator. Self-admittingly, at the end of the week, if I had more money in my pocket than I did in the beginning of the week, it was a success. But at the same time, like I didn't, know the granular details, the finite of the cost of goods or, the labor and stuff. Like I was just, just running a business, knowing how to market it, know how to create good menu, good product. He came along, he brought along, so Jerry Ige brought along Tim Banos, who's also making a career um, a pivot where he was a educator for a while, and he wanted to, kind of wanted to kind of dip his toes into the entrepreneurial world. And, him, myself, Jared, and Tim, like, the 4 of us were in an office in Westfield, and we literally stripped the menu down. I mean, they did some real heavy lifting, and kudos to them, and I would never be like, a roadblock to anything because I knew that they believed in it. They all made a conscious effort to sacrifice, you know their other make this move over to this, and believed in Taldas' vision. They believed in the vision that I had for the brand, and they came along. So I said, "You know what? Let's go. Well, let's strip the menu down 30, 40%, streamline different things, start getting measurement, start weighing." Because, I would never have been able to, franchise it just, by saying, "Oh, yeah, maybe." Salad cost this. No, you owe it to your franchisees to make it, maximize the profit, to be as efficient as possible operationally, brand consistency with everything across the board. So, the 4 of us did some heavy lifting. It took a little while before we really felt comfortable to go to market and really, um, you know, to get out there and sell franchises and expand.
Yeah. So it's funny you said that because it's not just about the systems. I mean, obviously that's huge. I mean, your corporate stores have to have the basis. I mean, because obviously, you want the background. You need to make sure you're profitable. You need to have the systems in place because when you scale, if you don't have them, it's chaos. I mean, you know that. But it's also creating all the franchise documents and the pieces. And I remember when Jannar and I got married, I was on a treadmill on our honeymoon and I was reading like FDDs and franchise agreements and, trying to put together all the pieces that go with it. Cause I mean, it's not just the systems, it's all the other operational manuals and franchise documents. It's all the other pieces that go with that in order to be able to sell. I mean, it's a little bit easier because you're based out of Jersey. Maryland is a nightmare. If you're based out of Maryland to get the franchise documents through, Maryland and Virginia, they torture you. I remember when we were trying to franchise, I was like, lovely, we picked the worst state to be headquartered in for franchise, right? It's like there's 12 or 14 that are like really bad, and we live in two of them. I was like, yay, us.
Yeah, I know. We had to get a surety bond, like just a franchise in
Oh,
Maryland.
yeah.
It's like it was wild. We're like, what's going on here? It was very difficult to get registered in the state. So
Yeah, it's funny because Maryland makes it really hard for the franchisor initially, but then it protects you more once the franchisee opens. So it's like, yes, you have to defer royalties and all this until they open or collect the initial franchise fee. But once they open, then it kind of switches. So,
mhm.
you know,
All right.
every state's different as it relates to franchise. I mean, it was all such an education. I mean, 15 years later, still doing it, but and now Dinar wants to do it again. We have Squisito, we have, the 9 stores. Now we're getting ready to do Vivi's. And the first thing he says is, oh, let's franchise. I was like, oh, great. Here we go again. Documents and audits and yay. But I mean, it's definitely been, when you find the right franchisees and you bring on the right partners and teams, it's like you said, it's so much easier to expand. You can expand much quicker with the right partners. Unless you get those one-off, you know, problem franchisees, then it's like,
Yeah.
that happens to all of us. So talked about in the beginning. So obviously you went from 1 to 5 to 10. Now you're over 21 locations, and you just mentioned you just sold parts of Maryland. What was the hardest part when you first started growing? Because I mean, the first 10 are always the most challenging. The first 5. So talk through like your growing pains and what was the hardest part of launching your franchise and opening more stores, especially in multiple states?
You know, the thing was, I'll be honest with you, brand consistency. Like
Hmm.
being able to make sure, hold everyone kind of accountable and really make sure that nobody's going off the rails because you're working on a slim budget. Smaller team. Although um, we always worked. My infrastructure has always been bigger than brand. I mean, like we have enough people that could support 50 units right now, and that was done intentionally, just because we had
You're talking about your corporate team.
yeah,
When you say people, you're talking about your corporate team,
yeah,
like trainers and yeah.
yes. So, that was something that was, initially like kind of a hurdle, trying to get everybody to be on top, like auditing, making sure they're buying from our distributors and not going to Restaurant Depot doing, like that was sort of, but then we fixed it. And like, you know, it's just, that was originally the first thing. And also, like you had mentioned, some people get into the franchise, you just fall in love with what your vision is, what the brand is, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a perfect fit to be a franchisee. It's not a knock on them. It's just the restaurant space and the restaurant world is very difficult. I don't have to tell you, you living it, you understanding it.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's why I paint my hair.
yeah,
I say it all the time.
I know, I know.
I'm like, when every time Dinar wanted to open, it's funny not to cut you off here. I'm going to digress for a second. My husband drives like this, looking to the left all the time because he's always looking at shopping centers like, oh, that's a great shopping center. Like even my kids used to joke and say, Jaro, look to the front, but, but it's true. He would say, oh, that's a great location. Let's do this. Or, because we always had different concepts because we do full service and fast casual. So we don't just have one concept. And, every time we would open a new restaurant, I'd be like, oh, there's another one. Let's paint it. The stress, here it comes. So, yeah. So we get it. So the restaurant business is definitely challenging. I mean, and doing this show for the last year, And I started off when we started talking by saying I've had so many different guests on from, franchisors, franchisees, marketing. I I mean, I had an amazing guest on yesterday that works in large hospitality, like five-star Michelin type environments. And, they don't understand. It's a different level of respect and understanding when you're building a new concept and you're opening from the beginning, the roots. And then you have to grow it. And you have some stores open, some stores close, some franchisees do great, some don't. And, it's very humbling, when you have this vision and you're like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get to 50 stores. And then you hit the brakes. I mean, let's talk COVID. I mean, you were open during COVID. I mean, how did every show COVID comes up and AI? So I'm going to talk to you about the same two concepts everybody brings up. Talk to me about COVID. I mean, what happened during COVID with your expansion in your stores?
Well, um, you know, we were at first, obviously everyone was frightened, didn't know which way to go. And a part of, the origin of Salad House is I wanted this business to be something where we've given back to the community because I really, listen, I'm a father. I love being a father so much, and I see, and I have a great father and brother as a role model, and I wanted, to raise my children to, see their father do successful things. You know what I mean? Taking risks and having a business be successful at the same time, give back. So, that kind of helped us in a way because I had a strong connections with different hospitals and different charitable groups.
Frontline
You know
community.
yeah, so, initially we were like I was like, "You know what? Let me these healthcare workers are really going at it." I didn't know what was gonna happen with my business, but I was just like, "Let me donate some stuff to a local hospital, bring some box lunches and stuff like that." Spoke to some people in the Short Hills community, and they were like, "Oh my god, we wanna be a part of this. We wanna help. We wanna buy stuff from you to give to the hospitals," whereas it started at, like, sort of like, I'm not gonna say we started, but, like, that kind of, like, was an amazing way for businesses to stay afloat, for people to give back, and to support your healthcare workers, and that was something that we were, it was pretty amazing that, to see how we were able to execute that, but at the same time, survive that rough time. But then also at the same time, we were used to be, with the curbside with takeaway. I used to do curbside takeaway just because I noticed that mothers, I have my own wife, like having the kids in the car seats, not wanting to come out, to get food. So I'd have people go, bring the food out there. So we were like kind of nimble and we were making some really nice moves, that we were kind of ready for. We were kind of COVID ready before COVID started. So we were very fortunate in that regard. And also like, I think the healthier food, you notice that, being healthier, people that they've taken care of their bodies were able to, you know, stay healthy, stay during this.
Yeah,
It was a
yeah,
scary time. And for people that were maybe unhealthy at this time, they were at greater risk. So that was kind of but it was really, community based and really, so I'm really grateful for the community and grateful for our team members and I think the government did a good job too with helping small business during that time.
yeah. It's funny you said that we did the same thing. I mean, and I really feel, especially when you start small, you're so connected to the community that you almost feel obligated. Like, they're your family, they're your friends, they're the teams. And you see these people and you're like, yes, whatever you need to do. I mean, we always say we're in the yes business when people come for donations and sponsors. Yes, we absolutely will get involved. And we did the same thing. We supported the front line. Actually, one of the things that we did, you'll love this, you're going to laugh, but it was so hard to get groceries and toilet paper and paper towels. And we ordered so much of it at the restaurants that we became almost like a grocery store when anybody did their carryout orders or their pickups or delivery, whatever, they actually could go on and get like deli meat and toilet paper and hand wipes and sanitizer wipes and gloves. I mean, I used to laugh and I would say, oh my God, I'm selling more like rubber gloves, toilet paper, sanitizer wipes with our pizzas. Like, somebody would order a pie and they'd be like, oh, throw in like 6 rolls of toilet paper and plastic gloves. But it was a crazy time, right? But you did what you needed to do to like support your community, stay open. And, your guests remember that, it's what builds your brand and your longevity and your legacy and your concept. So Talk to
I
me
love that,
about
by the way. I
how
love that you guys did that
isn't
because
it funny?
no, because I told people, like, it's like if 2020 didn't bring out the hustler in you, then it didn't what didn't even have a hustler in you. You know what I mean? You had to figure ways. I mean, we even did, in our, online ordering, you could donate a box to a healthcare worker. I mean, people
We did that
yeah,
too,
in
yeah.
addition to, that would that was, it was just, good stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Here's my digressing again. I walked into our full service restaurant at the time, Carpaccio, and we have a to go carry outside. And my husband's sending me pictures of toilet paper on the wine bottles. So he took rolls of toilet paper and he put it on the necks of the wine bottle. And he sends me a picture. I'm like, what are you doing? This is a wine bar. He's like, I know, but so many people need toilet paper. So for every bottle of wine we sold, we gave a roll of toilet paper. And there was toilet paper. I
That's
mean, it was
incredible.
just like the stuff that we did. Like I go back and I look at it and I'm like, but you know what? Everybody was kind of doing the same thing. Okay, those that were connected to the community and truly understood what needed to be done were doing things like that. But that goes back to like the small mind, we're mom and pop. So even though you have 15 stores or 20 stores, you still have that mentality of what it took to make it in your business and where those roots were. So anyway, back to let's wheel back to the concept now of the podcast. Um, so let's talk about where, healthy dining is going. Because I mean, you're absolutely right. Everybody's now on GLP-1s and, peptides and all these different diet pills or whatever. So talk to me about, how you look at future of healthy dining, because I'm sure it's helping your industry. I mean, I'm sure the chicken and pizza and pasta and all those are struggling a little bit because they can't eat as much or they're watching what they eat. But I'm sure the industry trends in terms of health and wellness is probably really propelling your industry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, listen, I think that, in 2025, where a lot of people I saw, it was a tough year across the board. And make no mistake, it was definitely it was tough for us, but like revenue wise, we were up year over year. Profitability was a little, obviously everybody took the hit with cost of goods being so wonky up and down sideways.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that was a testament to, what is, the forecast of the industry and where we're going, just because people are paying their, even in a rough economy, they are, they're justifying spending money, you know, for gyms, for eating healthier, maybe buying that celery juice or going to Trader Joe's and, like that I think is very encouraging for us. I really think that most, like it's no longer relegated to like the coasts or like, it's like that's like only in New York and area, like New Jersey, California, Miami, like, that's the healthier like everyone's eating healthier across the board. And like you had mentioned, the GLPs are definitely, it's driving people to, not eat as much. We really feel confident when we're where we're going. And we truly believe that, like, all Americans should be should have access to eating healthier food. And that's kind of the solution that we are. I really believe that Salad House is, you can be as healthy as you want to be. And I mean, the beauty of what we have here is that you get, two people, you and I could go out and have, a couple salads each and we could share a plate of fries because Salad House offers that. And bring kids along, like, so I think the balance that we have is good for the transition from, the bulk of people across this country,
Yeah.
kind of transitioning into eating healthier.
Yeah. So you talked about your team in terms of your corporate team and building team and having enough structure. And they always say, don't be too top heavy because you want to put the money into the field and put money into the support for the franchisees and the corporate stores. But talk about how you kind of ramped up because obviously, when you have 5 stores or 9 stores, you have to have that corporate support. So talk about, how you hired, how you ramped up, because you said you have enough to support 50 stores now. So talk through that whole process of like culture and team building and how you actually take that down to the franchisees to kind of keep that mentality going. So as you grow, they continue to grow with you.
So, I'm a football guy. I play college football and I'm a very team first, or like that's just always been, the way I operate. I never feel as though I'm above. I need everybody, in the organization to work side by side with me. So, that's kind of the culture that we have in-house. We respect everybody, all the spokes in the wheel. And, and with that hiring process, they feel that. They don't feel this, me in an ivory tower with Jerry or Garrett or Tim. Like, you know what I mean? We're working alongside you. We want to hear your ideas. We want to bring people along, and they feel it. So it's like people, they believe in the brand. A lot of our team members that are on the ops team that, Jared has an incredible team underneath him. Our marketing team, that Tim, like it's like we just have like this, you know, we hire good people that really believe deep down in the vision of the brand. You know what I mean? They believe in where we're going. And that makes, for a really nice work atmosphere and really makes for, you know, excuse my French, but people giving a shit. You know what I mean? And they really give a shit. And we're very fortunate to have like such talent like in the room and just, I'm always, in awe of, the work that's produced, a lot of the ideas that are brought, to my desk and I'm just like, I'm very fortunate and I know, again, but it's also, we kind of know what we want, the type of people we want.
Hmm.
We've been very lucky. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. That's great, because that's the biggest challenge is, ramping up. I mean, and again, COVID changed everybody's mentality with hiring because, there was so many people that left the restaurant industry because they were like, "Oh, I can make my own schedule now. I can go be an Uber driver. I can go DoorDash. I can make my own schedule." So then when everything opened back up, hiring for restaurants wasn't as easy. I mean, obviously, leadership positions are easier, because your district managers, your regional managers, your corporate trainers, but your true restaurant employees, it was definitely a struggle for a lot of brands. So, to be able to say that you have that strength, I mean, just like us, I mean, we didn't close during COVID and some of our Squisito stores, people have worked with us for 18, 19 years. Actually, Steve that you met at the beginning of the show, um, the producer of the show also is one of our main employees with the company. He's been with us over 20 years. So, it just shows, um, loyalty to the brand, loyalty to your staff and employees. So congratulations for that because that doesn't exist in a lot of companies. It really doesn't.
You know, fun
Yep.
fact, fun fact.
Eh,
My first hire in Milburn wasn't Jared. It was this woman, Kathy Driscoll, and she was just looking for like a little part-time job, and she's still there. She was like a smoothie person, but she was there in 2011. She was my first ever employee there. So, kudos to you guys keeping people like that. That's a testament to you and the culture, and the environment.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah, it's
really
funny because you go into some of our stores and, we'll talk about the kitchen, like our Annapolis location at Riva. When you come down to Annapolis, you'll see it. It's off for Riva Road. I mean, our kitchen, I think 4 or 5 of the guys that still work there were there when it opened. I mean, it's like 20 plus years. These people were kids and now they're, still there running the store. So it's kind of cool to go back and see how long employees have been with you, to the original employees. Actually, um, the franchisee that owns the Queenstown location, which is right over the bridge here on the Eastern Shore, he was one of the first managers. Like, I'm aging Martine now, but I think it was like 30 years ago ish. And now he owns a couple of the stores himself. So it goes back to, again, like you said, success in the brand. But so let's talk real quick because I know we're going to run out of time because I'm going to keep picking your brain and asking you all these questions. But talk to me about what you think fast casual looks like going forward. I mean, I always ask this question. Like, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but where do you see? I mean, we always talk full service, so let's talk fast casual. Where do you see it going? Like, what does 2030 look like in the fast casual world?
I think that, you know, I think that people are just so accustomed to, you know, getting food quickly. We're in like this microwave society where, I have 3 children that, they can't even watch a TV show with commercials because like everything is just happening so fast. So when they're hungry, they want to get something. I mean, whether it's Chipotle, Cava, Salad House, something, in and out. Um, and I feel as though like that's not going to change. You know what I mean? Especially, as as technology grows and yeah, I mean the speed is we're going things are going lightning quick and I feel like it's still going faster. So I feel as though that it'll never, I think that we're just we're really at the beginning. I mean, it's gonna get oversaturated. I mean, it's already, a lot more people are coming into the business, but, you know, my CFO, who's amazing, and then we're constantly monitoring. We have meetings every week. We have financial meetings every week, and just seeing how we kind of compare to other fast casuals, and I can speak to Salad House. I don't really know behind the curtains of other businesses, but just seeing our strength in these rough years, is very encouraging. And I don't think healthier eating is never gonna be a fad. And I truly believe we're creating customers for life. Again, I'm speaking on Salad House, where it's like, there's never going to be a time where Michelle, you're going to be, God willing, you're 92 years old, and you go to a doctor's appointment, and he's like, you know what, you should lay off Salad House. You should go a little bit more to it. So I feel like, especially healthier, concepts. I think have long shelf life. I believe, but you
Yeah,
never know.
yeah.
The world is crazy. But we are, I think, like you had mentioned AI earlier, I think that, AI is going to, be a disruptor. It's already starting to become a disruptor, but our industry is, I think in a good place because, unless you get robots to make food, which will probably it is happening. I was at the
It's already
I
happening,
was at the
but
NRA. I was at the NRA. It was wild to see some of these robots, but, for the most part, people still need to eat, and get food, kinda made for them, so.
yeah, I mean, the good thing with the restaurants and, one of the things that I love about it and where our passion comes from is, you get to experience people. You're going into a restaurant not just for the food, you go in for the experience, you go in for the atmosphere. I mean, especially full service. With fast casual, you go in because it's quick. And it's funny. I was talking to somebody and they're like, oh, well, we can go to the grocery store and we can buy this. I'm like, oh, okay. Go to the grocery store and see what it takes and go through your bill at the end because grocery stores, the prices are just ridiculous nowadays. And you'll spend $200 and you can go to fast casual and for $20 you can or $30 feed two people, three. You can't do that with a grocery store anymore. So, it's just the restaurants are here to stay. I don't think they'll ever go away just because um people love to dine out. They don't want to always cook. They want to be quick. They want to leave the gym and go grab something healthy. So I think we're good in terms of where restaurants are. I just think the way it's going to happen is going to be so different. I mean, like you said, we're probably going to have kiosks where people do all self ordering. It's already going that way. We have little robot cars that deliver your food, which that's crazy. Do you know I saw the first one in Jersey City? We were in the car going to Jersey City and this thing was sitting at the corner. And I'm like, what the heck is that?
I know,
It was like a box on
I
wheels and it
know.
was like standing, trying to like maneuver the traffic. And I was like, okay, this is not going to go well, because cars were going all over and this thing was like, it was playing Frogger on the street. And I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, so it will definitely change, but hopefully consumer behavior won't, right?
Right.
They want to eat out. And I agree with you. I think health and wellness isn't going to go away.
Mhm.
Not at all.
No, no.
Doesn't matter what age you are.
And even you know what? And the hospitality component of it, and you kinda touched upon it, where people wanna be appreciated, and I think that's kind of where, not to now I'm regressing, I'm going back to, talking about the corporately owned versus franchise owned. People are like, "Oh, why don't you open a," it should have been corporately owned, like, I I'm again, I observe, I'm a observationist where I kinda see how people they're going to Chipotle a little less because they're really not getting that good experience. Like, it's really becoming so cold and almost like you're doing them a favor. I'm spending that $20 on a burrito, like, you know what I mean? And there's not even a smile, attached to it. Whereas, people are a little more, a little bit more, mindful of where they're spending their money. So that's something that I'm kind of driving home company wide. Like, I mean, that's the foundation. We're a mom and pop soul. I mean, we're a little corporate, structure to us, but we have the mom and pop soul. Every one of our stores has, the town that it's in, hand painted on the walls. We encourage, going, making sure you're sponsoring the little league teams and getting involved, with local charities and local, you know, organizations, just because that goes a long way. And just a quick story, like Just Salad opened up in Livingston, New Jersey, one of our original franchisees. Shout out to Dave Delinko, who believed in the brand early on, one of the first franchisees. He was in Livingston, New Jersey, and Just Salad opened up. And I remember looking on the Facebook boards. And because of everything that everything that he invested, when it came to like, time, sponsorships, charitable things. When Just Salad was coming aboard and people were like, "Oh, I can't wait for Just Salad," people were like, Dave is the greatest. Dave does this. Dave does this for this school, for elementary, for Collins Elementary. Oh my God, he sponsored my little and it was like, what I mean? And that was pretty telling to show, what it means to be, kind of, plugged into the community. And that's something that Salad House, like, going forward, I always want, no matter what community we go into across this country, I want to make sure that they're appreciated. Our guests are appreciated. Because, listen, there's a lot of options out there. It's becoming a flooded space, and, and I'm honored and grateful that they choose us, over and over again, and that's something that really needs to be, kind of, you know, trickled down to everybody, from myself all the way down to, the part-time teenage worker that's working at the counter.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
how I
I
got
mean,
to there. I don't even know how I
yeah.
got to there, but I'm very passionate about it,
Yeah.
clearly.
No, but you know what? It's true. And I say it all the time. I say it in our business. I'm a stickler with, please and thank you and whatever you can do. I mean, even when I'm in the restaurants, I'm the first one to clear a table or talk to a guest or, if there's a problem, I mean, fix it, give them something else, give them a gift card. I mean, they can go anywhere. So it's so important to they choose you, and that's what's important, and I say it all the time, and even with Squisito, they choose us, and we want them to keep coming back, so putting that person up front is so important, and you're absolutely right. Some of the brands out there, they just don't care, and it's so unfortunate. There's no connectivity, there's no eye contact, there's no please and thank you, and, I mean, it's definitely changing, so but before we go, okay, so every show, I do lightning round questions, just quick one-word answer or short answers, and we're going to pick your brain on what you think in your industry. So, one thing every restaurant should know about business and franchising. One important thing.
Patience, a lot of
Yes,
it.
a lot of it. Good one. Good one. And that's not just in business, that's also with franchisees.
Yeah,
Growth or profitability? What's more important, growing or being profitable?
profitable.
Yeah. You don't always hear that from franchises. You look at a couple of the big ones and you know who I'm talking about, Sub Shop. They put them on every corner and they just don't care if their franchisees are profitable or not. And that's sad,
It is
and
sad.
it,
It's
it
sad
is
because they
sad
you know why? Because
because
these people are, they believed in you. They believed in your brand. They believed in and they've invested. Some of them probably just taking out equity lines on their homes, what I mean, just
yeah,
to be their own boss and, what I mean, and trust you. And then for you to kind of cannibalize, them and put them in a position where like, "Alright,
yeah,
well, we're gonna sell this territory. You gotta buy," like, not everybody has the means to do it. Everybody's, personal life is different. Everyone's personal finances are different.
yeah. All right. Salad or sandwich?
Sandwich.
All right. What's your favorite item on your menu? I'm curious. I know your wife's going to go for the salad and the grilled chicken because that would be my go to, but what's your go to on the menu?
My go-to on the menu, it used to be the crispy shrimp sandwich. That was my favorite. It was like a crispy shrimp sandwich with this spicy aioli, spicy mayo with, avocado and lettuce. But I'm a little I'll be honest with you, I've been on our Greek salad with grilled chicken and our champagne vinaigrette. It's just light, it's delicious, it's filling, and you just feel good, that Mediterranean lifestyle.
Yeah. So you talked about your family being in the industry. What do they think of Salad House? I mean, now that your father and your brother and is everybody still involved or?
You wanna know the truth?
Yeah.
Okay. So my br my mother, when I brought home the first salad that I chopped up, at first she's like, "Why are you gonna open up a place of salad?" I brought her home a chopped salad, and she goes, "Well, who's gonna eat this?" She goes, "It look like a dog food, all chopped up and like this." She goes, "You gotta have a nice tomato. You gotta have a beautiful cucumber on the side." I'm like, "Ma," I go, "everyone likes chopped salad." She's like, "No, nobody's gonna eat it like this. And nobody, no." I'm like, "Ma, I promise you." I go, "People eat salads like this." And sure enough, I kind of, and my brother and father, I love them dearly so much. They're my mentors and my most important, pieces of this puzzle of my life. But, they are very old school in a way where, like, trust of, like, El Chavi's only has 2 keys, like my brother and myself. And my father, it's like there's, like, a few keys. Um, you know, Scaling a business was kind of foreign to them, and them, not really understanding that this was, that this is a possibility, was kind of, a way of, like, showing them, not I wasn't not showing them, just but showing them the fact that, there is a way to, utilize other people as opposed to controlling all components of it. And, kind
Yeah.
of, and like, realizing I'm not smartest in everything. Like, I'm pretty sharp, but, certain things I know that there's people in the room that are smarter than I am, and I'm not the smartest guy in the room, and I listen, and I can't control it all, and I refuse to,
Yeah.
and that's something that, so yeah, I mean, but we still have our Italian deli, and it's still run old school, and it's amazing that it's run that way because that's the charm of it. That's why it's one of one, and that's why Chavi's is there for 45 years, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's our show's coming to an end, of course, again. And it always goes so fast, and we get to 45 minutes, and I'm like, God, where'd it go?
Mhm.
We just, didn't get to all the questions, but you'll have to come back. And actually, Jannar and I are going to come up and we're going to come see you
Yeah,
so
yeah,
we can actually meet face to face instead of through like a video camera.
yeah.
But for everybody listening, you know where to find me. DMs are always open, restaurantdiva.com or on LinkedIn. And Joey, if anybody has any questions for you or wants to find out more about your brands, where can they reach you?
We're at The Salad House on Instagram. Facebook is just Salad House, and our website is thesaladhouse.com. Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, or
Best place. And then for everybody listening, what's one piece of advice or something you want to leave the show with for the American dream or somebody looking to open up their own concept or maybe a franchise system
what are
besides patience?
yeah, well, just realize you got one go at it, and you gotta take chances in life, and you gotta roll the dice, and you gotta, not listen to all the noise. If you have a belief and you have a vision and you have conviction, to go get it. My father always says, and I love this expression, was he taught me to not sit underneath the apple tree and wait for the apple to fall into my mouth, and to climb up that tree and grab that apple. So go
Oh, I
go
love
get
that.
that apple.
That's a great quote.
Yeah,
So, Joey, thank you so much. This has
okay.
been so much fun. It was great having you on the show, and I can't wait to meet you face to face and
And a
firsthand. We'll
big
have to
hug,
come to
big
salad and
Italian hug.
yeah,
We
I was
gotta
gonna say exactly right, big Italian hug, right? And I can't wait for you to meet my husband. I think you guys are going to hit it off. I mean, you have the same mentality and the same energy, and it's just funny to hear some of your stories. I'm like laughing inside because we have the same similar stories
well,
at
my
home too.
well,
But
my real name is Giuseppe. That's my real name. So, I'm Giuseppe, and my grandfather's Gennaro, I got so there's a lot of stuff.
oh, that's so fun. Well, there you go. There's the Italian. What do they say? What, 5 steps of or 5 degrees of separation or
Yeah,
something?
yeah,
It's like they say Jewish geography and Italian geography. It's
yeah.
all the
Well,
same,
my
right?
wife is Jewish, so there you go. Like, I got the whole thing, yes.
There you go. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. This is another episode of Dine and Dish. And Joey, you're an amazing guest. I can't wait to meet
Thank
you
you.
and best of luck and congratulations on all of your success. I love hearing stories of success in the restaurant industry because you don't always hear them. And, good luck with Annapolis. We're here if you need anything. I mean, you could pick our brains. We have probably 12 locations around the Annapolis area. And I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was great
Thank
meeting you.
you. And for everybody, that's another episode, and we will be back next week. Thanks.